Well, hey everybody, this is Angela. I am the founder of the Author Incubator, creator of the difference process for writing a book that matters. And I am joined today by Michael Rostowski. Mike, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Michael is the founder of the School for Men, and he is the author of a book called August. We were just talking about the fact that it has been 3 years since you wrote your book.
hmm
Amazing journey the last 3 years. So in today's webinar, what we're going to talk about is what has happened to you, what's happened for your business since your book came out, and how have you changed since becoming an author. As you're listening, if you have any questions, you can text them right into the chat box or the questions box. We'll take some of those as we go today. But our goal, our shared goal here is to really show you what's possible in terms of being able to make a difference with your message. And also one of my many favorite things about Michael is his ability to always find the way to do things with ease and impact. I would say those are like two of the things is like, how can I make this easy and have the biggest impact? So if that's a goal for you, hopefully in this webinar, you'll be able to find some tips and some opportunities to see things that maybe you couldn't have seen. So I'm going to start the Wayback Machine. And Mike, take us back to three and a half years ago before you got the idea for this book. Tell us where you were in your business, what your business looked like, what your goals were like. Where were you?
Cool. I'll go back 4 years actually, because it's fun. So Angela was my coaching buddy when we were, I mean, you had already been coaching for a while, but I had it. And so we're like aspiring Martha Beck life coaches. So every week we'd get on the phone and Angela would ask me questions and I would cry. And then, and then, over time, my life got way less messed up. And then so when I decided to write the book, I had basically been in business for like less than a year. I took all of 2012 off because I had a good amount of savings after I left my corporate job. And then I was in service to the world. And that was really fun for me to do volunteer work and a ton of pro bono coaching. And then I did Martha Beck's life coach training. So I was just like a fresh coach. I was just coaching anyone that I can get my hands on. I don't even know if I was making money, but maybe like $1,000 a month. It was just enough money to sustain my nomadic lifestyle of like living out of my car and driving all over the country and staying with friends or going to different overseas places where the cost of living was cheaper. And yeah, no systems, no structure, just kind of coaching anyone who would show up in my space at that time.
And what was your vision for your business? I remember sitting at a bar once and sort of talking about like, where did you want to be today, 3 years, 4 years later? Where did you want to be?
Yeah, I remember writing this actually, like I think it was January 13th. So I think it was about almost 4 years ago now. I wrote, so this is me. I left my corporate job, just no plan, jumped without a parachute. And I remember writing something of like, I'm going to be the preeminent men's life coach. I remember, and I wrote that in like our little tiny corner of the internet with all like the Martha Beck, like aspiring life coaches. And I chose that because when I went to our coaching graduation, I was in a room full of like hundreds of coaches and I was one of three men. And I remember thinking like, fuck, like who were like the men's coaches or like who were the people who were doing this work? And I found so few, and no one had really done it in like a major way. Like no one had really taken a stand and like created a movement and done anything around this. So I just decided to be that man. Like I decided, and I actually branded myself as the men's coach. And I did like my first conference, the conference for men. That was a little bit after the book, but like a pretty common theme for me is like, if I see any kind of, like if I see something that's fun, or if I see like something that can make me money, like I just do it. Cause like why would I not do that? And coaching men is something that has both been super fun, and it's made me money. And it's like the most like nourishing, heartwarming work of my life. I get to coach people. Like I'm honored and I'm excited every time I get on the phone with someone, mainly successful entrepreneurs, and supporting them in all aspects of their life. Cause like I get to do that. So,
Okay, so that was what was easy about the journey. You could sort of see the goalpost or a goalpost, but what was hard for you? What are some of the things you had to overcome to work towards that goal?
yeah. So one was actually accepting money, and this is a fun story that I tell a lot. The first time I received payment for coaching was actually at your house, and because like I did like this like pay what you can afford offer. I sent it out to my list. It was like $3,200 worth of coaching, which for me that like kind of blew my mind that people would talk to me on the phone and I could make $3,000 in a month, which at that time was like covering my expenses. And I just like, there were so many internal blocks to collecting money because like I just had never done that before. And like, it seemed more terrifying than like jumping out of an airplane or like wrestling with tigers. And I remember sitting next to you, like in the kitchen, and right, like your family was around and you just helped me go into PayPal and like send these invoices out. And that's what I love about just even coaching, right? Like it's something that you had done so many times. So for you, it was just like tying your shoes. And for me, right, it seemed more terrifying than jumping out of a plane. But like you just sat there with me. I sent out 10 invoices, and I'll never forget the first one coming in and seeing that beautiful headline, like notification of payment received, and being like,
You've got
wow,
money.
and that was just like, I've crossed so many thresholds in the journey of business, but like that was a big threshold for me, is like accepting the first dollar. Like getting from 0 to 1 is always like the hardest leap. So that was a big one. And then two, just being visible. Like a big piece of me writing this book was, as I look back in my life, just so much of it was like I was very repressed from religion and family, like mainly religion, that I, after my mom passed away, I just had this like desire to be, do, and have everything that I didn't get to do in my childhood. And I think a big piece of that was just to be like fully expressed and to share like who I actually am with the world. So I actually don't recommend this strategy for most people, especially if you like run a company. But I just started sharing everything on the internet, and it talked about like porn and sex and suicide and like alcoholism and just like all of like the most shadowiest parts of my life. Um, and then what was fascinating was like it just created so much trust, literally made my business. So the book was just like another level of that, like getting into just like full vulnerability of like who I am. And the book basically, I created a 1 month memoir. I had this idea of, what if I just wrote like from feeling and that I'm experiencing, because at the time my life was like pretty exciting. So I was just traveling all over the country, basically like following following my highest excitement just all over the country. So in the book, I think I was in like 5 different cities, and like I went to Burning Man and just like did all sorts of things. And it was such a cool experience it, it was like starring in this movie, but like writing it and knowing that this kind of like imaginary group of people were behind my shoulder. Like it was a really surreal experience. And it actually gave me more impetus to like be more exciting and do more cool shit in that month. So it was a really fascinating, just like social experiment in creation.
So a lot of
Yeah.
people who come to us and they have, I want to be the premier men's coach, whatever their goal is like that. And this is like one of the most common ones I get. I'm going to interview 100 people. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write a book from these interviews. None of those people who have that idea, so if you're watching and you have that idea, you should know, none of those people have ever finished their books. like they get 3 interviews in and I don't know, something else happens, or 10 interviews in and something else happens. And I don't know why it's always 100 people want to interview. But you either didn't have, or you somehow got over the idea that there was a right way to do a book. So you came up with this idea, it's a memoir, and you actually wrote like an hour a day for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
how long did it take you to write your book?
yeah. So like 30 hours.
Right.
And then it was done. And what's fascinating was like, then we went into the process. So I was probably one of like, I don't know, like one of the more difficult clients. Cause like, I just kept like, I've always been such a rebel. So I was like bucking against the system, even though like you were doing things that were good for me and good for the book. Like for me, it was just like, I just wanted to get like my most truest writing out there.
Mm-hmm.
So like we really didn't do any editing. And the hardest thing was like actually allowing it to be released to the world. And I've heard this from so many authors, right? Because a book is something that like you can infinitely edit to make it better and better and better and better, like through the end of time.
Right.
uh, and there are people out there who have been writing their book for like 5 years, 10 years, right? Like I'm sure you've seen this.
Oh yeah, decades. I have
Yeah.
people come to me, been working on a book for 20 years. I'm like, first of all, it's not one book. There's got to be 30 books in there, because there's no way you could be working on one book. You may think it's one book, but yeah,
Yeah.
one book doesn't take that long to write.
Yeah. So the one of the hardest things for me as an author, because I know like everyone who's listening wants to write a book, was to just like be okay with how good that the book was, and just to
Yeah.
like let it go out. And that was such an emotional process of just like letting it go out into the world. Because of course it could have been better, and like maybe I could have had some better stories in there, or maybe like I could have added some like more things, and I added a prologue and an epilogue and some other stuff. And um, it could have been better, but then like I could have edited that into infinity and it would have never gone out. And just by the book going out, like so many people got to see a really intimate glimpse into my life. So like I became more real in the world.
Mm.
One of my friends just asked me why I post on social media so much when we were at a Tony Robbins event. And this insight came through. I was like, you know what? Like, I think I post so much because it just makes me more real in the world. So writing a book is just a great way to make yourself way more real in the world. And it just instantly positions you as the authority in that area, whatever it is.
So I'm just going to jump in, because Sandy just messaged us in the chat room, and she's asking, were you worried about getting bad reviews? So I
No,
guess Amazon, or people saying like the book isn't good enough.
I think I was, yeah, but I was also like, I was just really like at that moment in my life, I was just very zero fucks. That's like a phrase I use a lot. Like I have zero fucks to give about the opinions of others. I even bought zerofucks.com. I haven't done anything with it because like I don't quite think that's the meme that I want to put out into the world. I'm more of just like love all humans. Um,
That domain was taken, so zero
yeah.
it is.
But I kind of didn't care. And I think that's one of my superpowers is that I'm not 100% healed of this condition, but like, I really don't care what people think about me. So there's this like permission that I give myself. There's a permission that I give to my clients. Oftentimes, they just make more money and have better sex, and their social life explodes because like they just don't care anymore about what people think about them.
It's an interesting paradox though, right? Because you want to be the preeminent men's coach at this time. You want to help people. You want to take money from people to talk to you on the phone. And then you're also saying you don't care. I think a lot of people we work with get stuck in that paradox. Like, hey, if I'm going to be charging them, the book has to be perfect. Or if I'm going to be charging them, then I need to care what they think about me or get their approval in some way, because why else would they pay me?
Yeah,
I don't want.
it's echoing now.
It's
I can hear
echoing
my
now. I can
voice
hear my
now.
voice.
So maybe
Try.
so maybe you can turn down. It just started happening. So maybe turn down your volume or
Yeah, or sometimes I just
okay,
turn off the video and turn it back on again. It's like stop video or something.
cool. Yeah, I don't hear my voice anymore. So so we'll
Okay,
edit
so the
that
question
out.
was like this paradox of like, I don't care what people think about me. And then on the other hand, I want people to think of me as the preeminent men's coach.
Great.
And so how do you, because I've seen a lot of people get stuck in this loop of
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, I have to care what people think about me. Like I want to have a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Yelp tells me I need good reviews.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. So I don't care what people think about me, and that I don't need their approval and their validation for me to feel like I'm a whole person or to feel like I'm lovable. Um, but what I do want them to know is that I can get them results because that's like at the end of the day, that's what people want. They don't care about like the vehicle, they just want the destination of getting from point A to point B. So like if they can get it in a coaching program or the one-on-one coaching or like reading a book, like that's really, really what they care about. So I'm not too worried if people like me or not, but like what I do want to demonstrate is that like I can get results for clients, which comes in my stories and it comes from my client testimonials and it comes from like just them being out in the world and me providing like amazing service. Like there's sales and there's fulfillment, and like I love both. But you know, like I've seen some coaches who are great at sales and like they just kind of suck at the fulfillment piece. So for me, like if I yeah, like for me, the way to grow a business is just to give like awesome service and just to get results for your clients in whatever that thing is that you do.
So what do you think having published this book did for you at that point in your career, both for your business, but also for you personally?
Personally, oh man, it made me so much more comfortable in my own skin. Just because like that, you know, I talked really openly about a lot of stuff in my life in the book, and just kind of like knowing that is out there, like there was this kind of like maturation of my soul or just like feeling more comfortable. Like there's an ease that I have in my body and there's an ease that I have with my flaws, maybe like a grace that you might call it that like I don't see in many younger people. Like I just turned 35, but there's just kind of like a embodied grace, wisdom. Like I'm just kind of okay with stuff that like you normally see in like an 80-year-old man who'll just like fart in public and laugh about it. So like the so much of me being so open through the book and through my blogging, just like it forced me to accept like my shadow or like my fears or those parts of myself. And it's really cool when I meet someone and I say, oh, like you should read my book. There's nothing like, it's so cool just to be able to give someone a book or like to gift them a book. Like I almost see books as like the new, like next level business card,
Hmm.
um, where it's just a great way to like educate people and like indoctrinate them into like who you are and the transformation that you can create for them. Um, yeah, like the more that I think about it, because like I haven't thought about this in a while, and I love that we're doing this interview now. Like it's almost crazy not to write a book. Like it literally, if you are in business, no matter what your business is, it's almost crazy not to write a book because it's like it's instant authority, instant credibility. Like there's just so many amazing things that happen from it. And I think sometimes people get caught in the like I need to sell 10,000 copies of blah 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 to break even. But like, I mean, I know you know the stats better, but like probably most people don't make money on the books, but they make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on like what the book creates for them.
Yeah, and I think part of that is like clients that might find you through your book. But I think part of it is also how you change, like the confidence in
Mm.
writing a book, the clarity. Like, I think one of the best things about your process, and I want to talk about this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned how you were like maybe a difficult client, and that we were trying to edit your book, and you're like, no, 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 I want an unedited book. Like, I want to go out. That decision I think was so critical to who you are and how you show up in the world. If
Hmm.
we like saved you that decision, if we were like, hey, we think this book is perfect and we're not going to edit it, I don't think you necessarily would have gotten as grounded from your book as you did. Like having to make that decision and own that decision,
Hmm.
I think was like a very powerful way that you kind of became the person who's running your business now.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Cause that looking back, that was a conflict, which then I have now I love conflict because like, it's just an opportunity to like ground more into like what I believe in, like what I want to take a stand for. So yeah, I didn't think about it, but yeah, that's absolutely true. Right. Like you gifted me the opportunity to like really figure out and like get clear on my own terms and make a decision. So I think one of the greatest things we can do for our clients or for even like our family members or our kids are to like allow them to make decisions. So so like you gifted me the opportunity to make the decision to keep it unedited, which like further fortified like I'm just going to be that dude who always tells the truth. Um,
And
and
you are that dude, man. That has not changed in the last 3 years. Lots of things have, but that one, oh, hell no.
Yeah, it's kind of comedic almost. Like I forget that anyone reads anything that I write on the internet. I forget that my face is out on the matrix of the internet and thousands or hundreds of thousands of people have like read my work, and it's just neat to like I'll just be at a restaurant or at some yoga event and someone's like, "Oh man, I like that article you wrote about masturbating or something, and it's like, oh wow, the internet works, or just man, like I loved your like vacation pictures with Elizabeth, and like it's the I forget sometimes how truly miraculous the internet is, and I guess what's coming up for me is that like the barriers to entry of like being, doing, and having whatever you want are literally zero now. Like just the to write a book or to like your dream job is literally a decision away.
Mm,
Um, and it's just a really cool time to be alive. I mean, you live in a castle. That's freaking
it's
sweet.
crazy. I know, I love it. You have to come here. It's insane that you haven't, as my son told you earlier.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing that I say to people, and it's so hard to describe this. So I kind of want you to give your perspective on this. So, what
Hmm.
I say to people is you have to become the person who wrote the book before you finish it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And the way that looks is like, in your case, you write an hour a day, even if you're a Burning Man and you'd rather be, I don't know, off riding bikes on the playa or like
Mhm.
all the other things you probably preferred to do other than writing. It means you have a hard conversation with someone who's publishing your book and you say, I don't really like your editor. Like you have to become the person who would do all those things.
Mhm.
The book is almost a byproduct. Like the book just, if you're this somebody who wrote a book, the book happened, but it's
Mhm.
really becoming that person that's the key. And so with your book and your process, did you make a decision to finish the book, or did you make a decision like, I think people get stuck in the space of I want to write a book or I should write a book. But what do you think your decision process was like when you say it's like only a decision away? Like with the book, like was there any chance when you started it, it wasn't going to get published one way or another?
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely. I took a pretty low risk. I took a pretty like low risk step into, or like I didn't sign a contract with like a major publisher. Um, I basically wrote it every day in like a Google Doc. So at the end of that month, I could have looked at it and been like, this was an interesting exercise and just kind of tossed it. Um, I didn't even, I'm trying to think if I told, yeah, I think I told people like on Facebook. So there was a public accountability aspect, which definitely helps. Um, yeah, starting it was actually pretty easy, which when I think about a lot of other people, I think that might be a big hurdle.
Mm.
Um, So, and I took your like 2-day workshop. I remember after like the Martha Beck thing. So that was just so valuable. Um, like, so for anyone who's listening, like Angela's process for writing a book, it's like, it's so simple that it takes a book from this like huge, like Mount Everest, like daunting task to just like simple step by step, like color by number, or like, here's how you make your Lego castle, step by step instructions. So having gone through that workshop with you, like I just knew how easy actually writing a book is. So yeah, I forget, because I've been through that and I've done this with you. Like I forget how hard I used to think writing a book was, because I thought it was something that like that only the, I don't know, really wealthy people or really brilliant people or like only PhDs do. Like it was up there, it's like, writing a book, being an NBA basketball player, going to space, like those are just things that I'll never do.
Right.
Yeah.
So having done it once, does that change the way you think about future books? Do you think you'll write another book? And how do you think you would approach that?
Yeah, I will, like I'll definitely write other books. Like there's a book in me around like masculinity and just like around just like life as a man. I know how easy it is to write a book now, like after working with Angela and just like I and my partner Elizabeth wrote a book, and like that's just been everything for her business. So I will definitely write more books. Because I know how easy it actually is. Like when you allow yourself to like surrender to the structure, and not fight it. And there's just like, there's no better way to just instantly create influence and authority in your marketplace, like whatever that is, whether you're, I mean anything, whether you're a doctor. I mean, Joe Polish was a carpet cleaner and now he runs this like
Love that.
one of the most amazing masterminds with like world leaders in it. So like, everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has something that they can help people with. And even if no one read it, I remember like the man that I became after writing that book was just someone who was just super comfortable with like having myself out there in the world. So like there's a definite like initiation process to writing a book that, for me, even if like no one had read my book, I would have felt really great that I went through the process of it. It's
So,
just such a transformational process.
so key. Okay, Deborah is just asking, do you think that you need a book as a coach? And I think she means to be successful or.
You don't need it to be successful. I have friends who are like, I know, like say like Jesse Elder, like I don't think he wrote a book. Dude, just like Facebook videos. I have a friend Sterling who started a multi six-figure coaching business, just shooting Facebook videos. It there's something that it just like legitimizes you. Like there's a legitimacy to being an author. Um, that I think that just other things don't create that for you in a way that a book does. Like when I think of things that most people view as things that are like really legitimate, like I can't even think of something that's better than writing a book. Like
Well,
even.
it's funny because I think many of your blog posts,
Mhm,
probably more people have seen in your
mhm,
book. Like there's a couple blog posts you've had that have had pretty viral distribution.
yep.
Certainly, more people have seen than have purchased your book. But I don't think writing a viral blog post gets you the same amount of credibility as a book, especially as a new coach.
Yeah. As a as a new coach, um, I would just highly recommend it, because like when I think even of someone's bio, their Twitter bio or LinkedIn profile, if it says, author of blank, like world's best coach on blank, author of blank, it's just instant positioning.
Yeah.
And I'm, yeah. And I'm sure like you probably have dozens of stories of people who like their book literally just created just an entire business, or like an entire yeah, a entire business from them on solving that one pain point at different varying levels of right. So the book, and then there's like a group program that, and there's one-on-one, and there's all these, mastermind. There's all these different options based off of like their level of investment. But yeah.
So I have a couple more questions about your business, but I have to tell you, Stephanie just said, why is Michael so hot?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's a question for you. We can address why you're so handsome, because apparently Stephanie would like to know.
I would love to answer that actually. Because there's an interesting side effect of like doing like the really deep personal work. Like I am definitely way hotter, like definitely way sexier. My body looks better. There's an alignment in my body that like the internal, right, like our as above so below, so like the internal creates like the physical manifestation. So I've seen this with clients of both mine and clients of Elizabeth's. Like the more you love yourself, just like the weight falls off. Like it's really quite fascinating. Like I actually look more handsome. So yeah. So the reason I'm so hot is because like I feel my emotions. I tell the truth. I have no secrets. So like there's no like blocks of energy kind of like stuck in my body that are like turning into illness or making me want to like numb out with Cheetos. So the reason I'm so hot is because like I use the coaching tools because like they work.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, you guys keep your questions coming, but Stephanie, who knew that one would go so deep? Let's talk about a couple things. Where your people care about this stuff. I know you probably don't right now, but if you remember where you were back then, one of the things people ask me all the time is, will my list grow when I write a book? And your book itself, when people buy it, they don't generally get on your email list if somebody buys your book from Amazon. But in the last 3 years, a book just being a part of that journey for you. But how has your list grown? Like, what was your list at 3 or 4 years ago? What's it at now? You give us numbers or percentages, but just to give a sense of how much your business has grown.
Yeah, I mean, I would guesstimate, like, I don't even know if I had a list then. Like, honestly, so I'll say probably zero, if not like just a couple hundred. Now it's at like 5,000. And I actually haven't put that, like that hasn't been the biggest focus for me, email marketing, even though it's the thing that typically creates the most sales.
What has been? What do you think has grown the most for you?
Being out in the world a lot. Like I go to a lot of conferences and a lot of events. So like I'm actually out in the world. So then I get to meet like other like influencers and other people. That's been so valuable for me. It's one thing to like be on Skype with someone or to watch their YouTube videos. It's a whole another thing to like be sitting with them, like eating dinner, doing tequila shots in Portland or something. So I have friendships that are just priceless. So that's helped a lot, just like actually being out in the world. Um, yeah. So what I want to say sometimes is like people have all these questions of like, oh, like what will it do for the list? Or like, as a coach, should I write that? And like, it's almost like they're trying to talk themselves out of success. So I really try and like with my clients, like I try and get them to make decisions and act as quick as possible. Whether it's like, if you want to write a book, write a book, let's create a plan, let's do it. Right. So if someone's like, oh, like, will it even help my email list? Like it will help your email list. Like everything you do will help your email list. So don't try and like talk yourself out of it or like think you think too much. Just go ahead and act and like do the thing that like, that you're here to do.
I'm going to take another question from Susan, and Susan is asking, how do you know if it's the right time to write a book?
Yeah. If you think it's the right time, it's the right time. Like that's just
And would
nothing.
you say the opposite is true? Like if you're like Susan, if she's asking this question, like, is now the right time? Does that just mean it's not because you'll know when it is?
Yeah. I mean, I think so many people hold themselves back so much in life. It's like they're driving with like one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes. And I know this from experience. in my own life. Like I lived most of it paralyzed by fear. I lived with my parents till I was 24. Like I didn't even move out for college. Like my mom was like making me food and doing my laundry as a 24-year-old man. I was terrified of like women. So it breaks my heart to see people like talk themselves out of things that they're actually way more ready for. So for people that are like thinking about doing a book, like oftentimes like when that feeling is like kind of coming up, like you are ready, you're not 100% ready because you've never done it before. It's kind of like the first time like you drive a car or jump out of a plane, like you've never done it before and there's a ton of fear. But the way to learn how to do that is just to do that thing. So I think if someone is like truly sitting with that question of, oh, should I write a book? Like I definitely think you should. And the same thing with anyone is like, should I go into a coaching program or should I like take that trip somewhere? Is okay. So especially if you've never taken a big leap. So like if you've never taken a big leap, then like definitely take that big leap as soon as possible. Because then taking the subsequent big leaps are just like, it's just like a normal part of your everyday life. Yeah.
So your book, unlike many of the books that we publish, doesn't have a specific program or training in it. It's much more of a memoir than here are some exercises or some steps to get a result.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in part because that wasn't what this book was, but also you didn't have a clear program and kind of clarity. So
Yep.
I think you could have made the argument like, I have to wait until I know what I'm going to sell until I write the book. But then also one of the interesting side effects is you wrote the book and not that long after you did the first conference for men.
Mm-hmm.
And now you run the school for men.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about how your actual work and how you serve people has grown? What was the conference for men? What's the school for men? Who do you serve and what do you do?
Yeah. So when I wrote the book, I was still just like very much like nomading, traveling. My life is probably 90% leisure, 10% work.
And you were doing all one-on-one coaching really at that time.
Yeah. Everything was one-on-one. After probably right after I wrote that book, so it was August. Right after. So wrote the book August, went to Burning Man, and then went to Costa Rica to teach at a retreat. And at the retreat, they were doing hot seats, which is like one of my favorite exercises. And the teachers got to also participate. And I was sitting in the hot seat, and my friend Linan Saperstein, who was running the retreat, she just kind of said, let's write down what do you want to create in the next 3 years? And there were all these different things and different programs, and a conference was one of them. And she's like, why don't you just do the conference? And what's interesting was like, I was so naive to the coaching game and business. Like I didn't know how much work that was. So I just said, sure, I'll do a conference. And easily the hardest thing that I've ever created, just in terms of like actual hours and just the like emotional stress of like selling tickets and negotiating with venues and getting speakers and flying people out. But it was one of like it's probably the greatest thing I've ever created. So much transformation from that. Like I love live events. And at that conference, I sold from the stage like a $10,000 mastermind, which at that point was, I think, way more than my coaching. And like 3 people joined. So that kind of made like the next 9 months for me to like fulfill this mastermind. And it just sort of like organically, I basically like, I always take the best next step. So like, it's not like the next best thing, but like I always take the best next step, and I always look at like what my options are and do the one that like I need to have a growth experience, and the one that like I feel that the world needs the most. So after that mastermind wrapped up, I I've been toying with an idea of like making some sort of program that a lot more men could do. So I created this school for men, and I met with, like, I did a ton of market research, and I met with men, and I just like distilled down a program that kind of touches on these like 12 pillars of masculine mastery, like self-acceptance and integrity and spirituality and wealth and sexuality. And it's like a group program. So far there's like a little over, I think 60 or so people who have taken the program over 3 different sessions. And it's just been such a joy to work with men from all over the world and basically like create a space for them to show up fully. In the future, I'll be creating some more like higher end masterminds, doing another live event, but that's just because that's my best next step.
I love it. We have a great question from Alana. She's saying, what do you mean when you say masculinity?
Yeah, so great question. I'm actually
I'm going to Google that for you.
yeah. I'm actually going to Google it, and then I'll just say mine. So the dictionary definition, right? It's possession of the qualities traditionally associated with men. I think of it
Drinking beer and farting. I don't know. What do we attribute to men?
Yeah, right. And that's the problem. Like that's a lot of the like societal programming of what a man is supposed to be often puts them in this like little tiny man box where like they're not allowed to cry, like they're supposed to be strong, like they're supposed to like not really feel like it's cool to like get in a fight or get angry, but showing any kind of weakness is like it's soft or and and it's a big piece of just like what's causing a lot of the problems in the world are men kind of disassociating or repressing like their feminine side, and all humans have both. So when I think of like masculine and feminine, I think of like masculine and feminine energies just like that are just in the universe everywhere. I really love like David Data's work on it, like really groundbreaking work around like the dance between the masculine and the feminine. So for me, when I hear masculinity or like masculine, I think of like the energetic that is forward motion and that penetrates and that creates and that takes action. And the feminine, I think of like the energy that's receptive and that is it's like instead of single pointed focus, it's like single pointed awareness and like diffuse awareness. And we all have both. And like a big part of my work is like helping men integrate like all aspects of themselves. Cause like, why would you not want the gifts of the feminine? Like I love that I have a huge heart and I'm connected to my emotions. And like, I love to dance. Like I love the gifts of sensuality and intuition and creativity. And like, there's just so much richness to my life that if I was like most men and I kind of like disconnected those because I was afraid of being like girly or gay or like weak or like a wimp, like I would just be like basically living half of life. So that's a big part of my work in the world is just to like allow men to be all things, because then they are that like sexy, fully integrated man who can really handle anything in a space, and then it's like the kind of guy who can like go to work, just crush it, be a leader, have hundreds of employees, and then go home and like stroke his daughter's cheek and like hold a newborn baby. So just having range between the like false dualities of like what we think people should be. So yeah, I'm all about range.
Yeah. So the people who have joined the School for Men, people who have come to your conference, you mentioned that it was very transformative. What are some of the transformations? What are some of the results that have happened as a result of those programs?
Yeah, so they're really all over the board. So some of my favorite ones are, again, coming back to like feeling your emotions makes you sexier. There were 3 guys who went to my conference. So I didn't speak at all about fitness, at all about health, even though like it's always been a big part of my life. It was much more like the deep internal work. 3 of the guys lost like 60 pounds. And like, I think the first 3 months after the conference, and it was literally just from like, one of them stopped drinking soda and he started playing ultimate frisbee and just the weight dropped off.
I think that's the next book we're going to do.
What
Stop
stop?
drinking soda, the stop drinking soda and play ultimate frisbee diet.
And it'll work. So yeah, so those are fun. I get a lot of feedback from people's wives, like wives and partners of like, I don't know what happened, but my husband came home like a different man. Thank you so much. So I do a lot of work around sexuality just because it was such a shadowy thing for me. And I've just like integrated that part into my life because having sex is just like, it's just like breathing or eating food. It's just like a thing that human bodies do. So men routinely, either private clients or in the School for Men, I'll get text messages from them like, I just had the best sex of my life, or just had this crazy orgasm and like my mind exploded. And it's like, great, like thanks for allowing yourself to have that experience finally. And then I would say in money and sales, I've really spent a lot of time just studying sales because I had these weird beliefs around sales. And I mean, you knew me when I had all this stuff around marketing and sales. And now I truly see it as service. I truly see it as like the necessary step in order to guide someone towards getting the desired result that they want. And like, I love it. So, I've had coaches who like just from joining the School for Men group program, it's like a $3,000 investment. Like they doubled their coaching business, like in that time from like 50 grand to 100 grand. So the results are sort of like all across the board. And I actually consciously chose a container that was so broad and so big that like I would have to step up. Like, so creating the School for Men has been such a growth opportunity for me because I have to be able to field questions about literally every aspect of a man's life, from like spirituality, sexuality, finances, organization, building a team. So what's cool is like, it's like, I'm just so much more capable and knowledgeable about so many things. And like, I don't know what I'll be doing in 5 years or 10 years. Like
That's too bad because that was my next question.
uh, is that the question?
Well, it was going to be, but you're like, I don't know what I'll be doing in 5 to 10 years. So
Yeah. So I don't know what I'll be doing in 5 to 10 years. Like I'll truly continue to keep doing like the best next thing for me. Right now, I'm pretty sure that I'll continue to be in men's work. I'm creating a podcast really shortly, which will be just a huge thing, I think, for me and the men in the world, just to have a platform for like really deep conversations on sex and women and death and money and God and parenting. And when I look 5 to 10 years, I'm giving like a TEDx talk in a couple months. Like I see me as like the guy who created like a safety net for the men in the world through various programs and through blogs. Cause like the suicide rate's like 4 times that of women. And that's just something that's like unacceptable to me. So I see long-term me creating, like, I don't even need to know what it looks like in 5 years. Like it might be like virtual reality headsets and we're like hanging out together, or like I could take 100 guys into like a mountain for like the actual container I'm not too worried about, but I'll continue to support men in their process of self-actualization in whatever way is the most fun and makes money for me. So because ultimately like it's about my life too. So I would I got really clear when I created these businesses. Like I would hate to create like a big machine that I don't enjoy operating, or like that I don't enjoy running. So first and foremost, like I create a business that can create like my ideal day, my ideal week, my ideal year.
And let's talk about money a little bit. So you kind of said before the book you were making some random amount of unknown money somewhere. And this is where most of my clients are. They don't even know how much they're making
Yeah.
in a month or in a year. And it's something, because there might be a month where they make $5,000 and a month where they make nothing and a month where they make 1,000. So you were doing something before. How has that changed? Where's your business at, and how has your lifestyle changed? Because you also talked about being nomadic, living out of your car, having a couple $1,000s a month in expenses.
Mm-hmm.
But how has your lifestyle different now than it maybe was?
Yeah, so now I pay rent. It's like $4,300 a month. So that's like that was more than my annual expenses, or like my my like my total monthly expenses were less than like the rent I pay now. So now much different. Like I live with my partner Elizabeth. We live in Encinitas, California. Super grounded, super connected to the local community here. We have people over our home, and we speak at various events. The business last year I did like 120,000. And like, it's still very, like last year was very much still like a lifestyle business. Like I really, like when I work, I just kind of put stuff out there, and I spend probably 80% of my time learning or traveling or going to conferences or doing things that enrich my life. Because I just love having experiences.
I
Um,
think enrich your life, but also I would say contribute to your mastery. Like I see so many people, and these are people, by the way, if you're thinking about applying to work with us, these applications don't go very far. So I see people who spend all their time trying to sell things, but they actually don't have mastery over the stuff they're trying to sell. So they'll tell me like, I'm a mess about finances and I want to do a book about, business coaching, or I want to do a book about money mindset. And I'm like, well, you might want to work on that a little.
yeah. Yeah. You might
So
want to
one of
go
the things
to
I really admire about your work is like, I think you spend a good 80% of your time on mastery. It happens to be stuff you also love
the,
and enjoy mastering, but you have so much knowledge about the stuff you teach, and you almost put that, I won't say above serving, but
mhm.
close to it.
Yeah, yeah, like self-actualization is like my primary goal. Like I from a young age too, like I was a straight A student, and I just there's this kind of joy that I get out of like achieving, or like running a marathon, or like just doing something really cool, like only for me. Like even if there were, it's just something in like the way that I'm wired. Like even if like I was the last human on earth, like I'd be trying to like balance cans on something, or like I would be just trying to like walk over things. Like I just get this like kick out of becoming better every day. So I do spend a lot of time doing that. And then my clients get just all of the like the value and the wisdom of the insights of me, like stretching and pushing all these comfort edges in relationship or business or spirituality. um, so there are times, I will admit, there are times when I look at my friends who are like making tens of thousands of dollars a month, like running really big companies, and there's a couple times where I'm like, oh, like I think I want that, but the true desire hasn't shifted there yet. I'm definitely becoming more and more pro in business, like hiring employees, and I think doing the podcast will be huge. And there's some things I'll launch within like the next 12 months, that yeah, that'll just make a
What do you think are your values as an expert, as a coach, as a business person? What do you value? Because I think if you wanted to be making $100,000 a month next month, you could be.
yeah,
You know how to do
absolutely.
it, like you could do that. There would be a cost to that. So I'm wondering what you prioritize above money.
Freedom over money, like self-actualization over money, like the knowing of self. um health is definitely over money. That's something that like became really crystal clear recently. Like I just had this like insight of, wow, like if I was a billionaire and if I was really unhealthy, like that would suck. Like I wouldn't trade my life for that. So yeah, I think just freedom, health, relationships, and I don't want to create like the either or, because in reality, like you can have it all, and we both know a lot of people who just truly have it all. But right now, I haven't sacrificed my life for my business
Hmm.
the entire time that I've been creating it. And that feels really good for me to say out loud, because like there have been times where I've fallen into the comparison trap. Like, oh man, like he just had whatever, right? New York Times.
7-figure launch, New York Times bestseller. We could do it all day long. Yep.
Yeah. But I've never like messed up my life for my business. And I think as a life coach, like it'd kind of be out of integrity if I let my life fall apart just because I was like making money. So
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where I want to make more money, but like I'm really grounded in like the wisdom that I got from all these different teachers and doing Martha Beck's program and being a yoga teacher. And like that has allowed me to continue to like expand my container and to bring in more wealth, and not just like go crazy as I do it, which I've seen in various like, especially
Totally.
in like the internet marketing, affiliate marketing space where, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago when like a 23-year-old starts making like, 70 grand a month and then crashes his Ferrari into a bridge. And
You haven't done that.
yeah, haven't done that. I've come close in other things, but yeah. So I'm actually feeling a lot of like gratitude for the process of growing, like of consistent growth, and not doing it in a way that like it breaks the container, or like I create this machine that's like so complex that I can't run it. Like I've been growing at a pace that is sustainable.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I already asked you this before, but before we end our conversation, next book, what are you thinking?
It'll be a book for men. I was playing with like my web designer and my ops team. We were like just playing with like logos, and he created some logos. Like one said like the podcast for men and the conference for men, and he wrote like the book for men. Like I don't think I'll actually write that, but
I love that. The book. Give me the book.
it'd be fun just to be on stage. I wrote the book for men.
It's perfect. All right,
So
you guys are going to have to check Amazon to see if Mike Rostowski's new book, The Book for Men, ever makes it to stores. We're just throwing some coins into the wishing well, but you can get a copy of August by Mike Rostowski. You will learn things about him. Man, you will feel like you guys went through something together. It's a very intimate memoir. And there's so much that I want you to take out of that. But really, the idea that writing a book doesn't have to be hard, that you can make a decision to do it in a month, that you can make a decision to do it imperfectly as a part of the process, and that the people who it resonates with will be the early members of your movement. I've watched how Mike's movement has grown. I know that it will continue to grow at a sustainable pace. I honestly don't know if he could do it any other way, because you'll stop yourself if you're out of integrity, which I think is one of the beautiful booby prizes of mastery and of coaching, is that if it stops feeling good, you don't do it. So yeah, pick up a copy of his book. Make sure, what's the best website for them to go to? Is it theschoolformen.com?
Yeah. The schoolformen.com. Follow me on Facebook. Super active there. Just jump in the conversation.
Yeah. And the School for Men too, I know that most of you, all of the questions that have come in have been from women, but if you're not a guy, I still encourage you to check out the School for Men. There's amazing resources, and also share it with a guy that you love, because I know that a lot of your clients come through referrals. The ladies love referring you.
Yeah. It's funny. Women have been just like so supportive of the work, because there's just like a certain openness and receptivity to, I think, coaching and talking about emotions that.
Yeah, and I just think there's so few opportunities out there for guys to even know this is possible. So we're all like, go get it. There's good stuff out there. If you have a movement that you want to start, if you are looking to grow your coaching business from an idea to a reality, it's not a fast process. It's not a get rich quick process. It's really a growth process, and writing a book and claiming that expert status is a big part of how you can move into a space of real leadership like Michael has done. So if you're interested, go to theauthorincubator.com/apply. We would love to hear about your book. Don't forget to pick up a copy of Mike Rostowski's August on Amazon, and check out theschoolformen.com and follow him on Facebook. You can get the spelling of his name right here on the screen. We'll get that up there for you. I know it's a tricky one, but he is an amazing person to follow and just a great example of how you can take the next best step and end up going further than you maybe would have, trying to see the whole big picture, the 5-year plan right now. So thanks for sharing the next best step for us.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I mean, if any of this resonated with you, just like, I'm super accessible. So just find me on Facebook or on my website.
Awesome. Thanks again. We're changing the world one book at a time.